Hi everyone, welcome back into the classroom. I'm going to take a little bit of a break from our painting for spring and paint this one over the next couple days, and then we'll get right back into painting for spring. I want to keep some of the other channel going, okay? Fair enough? Fair enough. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I showed some of you the Landseer painting that I did this last year, which was Monarch of the Glen. Really big painting. I think it was like 6 feet tall. Beautiful painting, almost 5 feet wide, and we hung it. Jessica prepped the walls for it, and then she and I hung it, installed it onto that wall in the gallery. And in the gallery up there, we're going to do a big, huge upper wall of larger paintings. And the Mountaineers, this is called the Mountaineers by Carl Rungus, who painted this, I believe it was right around 1912. And it is 60 inches high, 75 inches wide. And it's a beautiful painting. I've gone up and studied the original. Matter of fact, a group of us a couple of years ago, several years, almost 5 years ago, went a trip up to Jackson, also known as Jackson Hole, Wyoming, up in the northwest corner of Wyoming by Yellowstone. And there's a beautiful wildlife, the National Wildlife Museum of Art up there. And we went in there and studied those paintings, studied the originals. Magnificent painting. And so I've always wanted to paint them. I've always wanted to paint the bighorn sheep. And I'm going to go back up there and do some more research of it, and then also go by the National Bighorn Sheep Museum that's not too far away from there, about 40 minutes or so away from there. But I've always wanted to paint them, and I'm going to do it for the gallery. But I want to practice it too, because when we look at Carl Rungus's technique, he was the master. He died in 1959, 1 year after I was born. I was born in 1958. And I've studied him most of my adult life. I just love his paintings. But on this sheep, I've studied this and looked up real close. He has a magnificent way of texturing the sheep, the body of the sheep, putting these textures on and then putting the highlight, skipping up over the surface of the highlight to give it some extra interest, which is really important when you're dealing with massive paintings like this. So I decided, instead of just jumping into it like I did with Landseer's, the red deer stag in Landseer's, I'm going to practice it first. So what I did was took the Mountaineers into Photoshop, eliminated some things, increased the contrast a little bit, and I'm just going to paint two sheep here into this area. I'm going to bring him a little bit more forward, and even though I absolutely love Rungus's his technique and his style and stuff, I figure where this is going to go in the gallery, I want to create a little bit more of that atmospheric depth into the painting. And so I'm going to do that, but I'll talk all about his technique along the way. But so I created this one. Now this is a stretch canvas. I made this stretch canvas. I built it. I build all my own canvases here in the studio. I just like doing that. I like the quality that comes with it. This is Marzidan canvas, and this is 10-ounce canvas. And so I built the frame, I stretched it, and then I gave it one coat of the Heritage canvas prep medium, and then I sat down and started my sketch and everything for the painting here. And I used just a little bristle brush. This is all I used, is a little old bristle brush. You can see that here. It's an old bristle brush. I use that and some burnt sienna, and I just go through and I'll let it, in the back area, I'll let it just skip over or water it down, and then I'll go a little heavier in the front area where I want to pop him up. It starts the visualization process for me, okay? And so I'm just going to paint this one and this. I'm just going to pull two of the sheep out of Rungus's there. I believe there's like 5 in the Mountaineers coming up. You can see just the rump of one back down over here. And so I am going to basically do this one like this, and we'll see how it comes out, okay? So it ought to be a lot of fun. So I'll put him up onto this cliff and stuff, so I expanded it out a little bit, and it's a nice practice. In the original, I did some size, some scaling and stuff into the original. the sheep that when I go to do it this summer, the sheep when I go to paint him is almost 30 inches high. It is almost the size of that red deer stag. So it ought to be a lot of fun to paint that one here later this summer. And if enough people are interested, I'll and you make some comments down below, I'll include it, okay? But Rungus was such a great thing. And I've talked about him for years here on the channel and in some of my online classes. So you can go back over and look up some of that information. He's a fantastic artist. But anyway, and I have all his original colors, the type of palettes, brushes, everything he used. Stuff. It's just fascinating. Okay, so I have the sketch and stuff in here. I made the photo. I blew it up, the photo up back there, the color to the size of what I'm going to do here, so I can just look here. Normally, I would put it up onto the monitor there. But I'm just going to use that photo there today. I might put the monitor back on because I see better tones in the monitor, okay? And I've told you that. But I'm going to start up here in the sky and this. And so this has a little bit more color depth than actually his original does. So I might soften out some areas, bring the sheep up a little bit. This is my practice, right? We're gonna work through it. And I'm going to tell you along the way what I might be changing in look. And then because it's going to go in our gallery here, and and even though it's a tribute to Carl Rungus and everything that he's inspired me to do over the years, I want to be able to fit it into the gallery. Okay, all right. So the first thing I'm going to do, like I normally do, is start up with the sky. So I have my normal day favorites out here, right? You've seen these all before. I've added an extra one, a couple to the palette, which is the Sapphire Blue and the Medium Beige color. Medium Beige is just a really good shortcut color, base color to hue shift on when I go to paint the rams and stuff here, the bighorn sheep. But we're going to start out with the sky. He is a little bit more of a blue-violet, so I'll take some blue and some violet here, and we will add, I'll take some of this over to the side here, and then we are going to add a lot of white. So I'm going to keep my white a little bit clean here to start out with. We'll add some white to this. And a good thing, when I'm going to go do the big painting, I know the big painting, I will mix up a lot of the sky, and I'll hold some of that sky off to the side for the painting, so I can use it to atmospheric paint a lot of other areas in the painting. So this is a good color right back there and I just hold that up. When I'm this far away from it, one of the things I do is I hold it up like this, and you squint down, and what that does is that gets rid of a lot of the contrast issues that you might have. It softens the contrast issue. So I hold it up to there and I squint. I can see I'm a little bit lighter than my photo is there, and that's what I want. So I'll do that. Now I'm going to take a big 2-inch brush. I'm just going to use some water with this, right? We'll darken this down as well, but we're going to paint some of the atmosphere, and I want to get this in. Now, I only gave one coat to this canvas, and many times you see when I paint a canvas, you hear me say I gave 2 coats to it, right? You've heard me say that before several times, and I do. Normally on a canvas, I'll give 2 coats, 1 to 2 coats, and what's the controlling factor of why I do that? I'll just talk to you guys while I'm doing this, right? What's the controlling factor is how much I want to use the canvas, the weave of the canvas, as part of the technique. So really with Rungus's technique, and like with these bighorn, this is a finer weave canvas. You could actually step into a canvas that is more rough weave, not a portrait weave, and this is a 10-ounce canvas, and I'm going to do that when I go to the big one. I'm going to go to a 15-ounce canvas when I go to make the big one, like I did with the red deer stag. I'm going to make a bigger, heavier canvas, and I'm going to increase the weave of it a little bit. So I will use the canvas weave, so when you drag over it, the canvas picks off some of the paint if I have it really dry, and you'll accentuate the weave. So I'll use that weave. So sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. I'm going to lighten even a little bit more right along the edge here of my mountains. And I'll let that atmosphere, just by using a crisscrossing motion of the brush here, I'll let that atmosphere there up into, I like that. And he didn't do a whole heck of a lot. He did from time to time, but he didn't do a whole heck of a lot of clouds in his paintings. I like to add clouds. And if you want, you know, like on the big one, I might add something back there, because on the big one, you're talking about almost a foot here of difference, you know, between the top and stuff. And that's a large area to have just color. So I might do that. I'm going to put in just a little bit more of a darker violet here. Just right up in here. Atmosphere this up here. A bit more, I think. So when I go up, so usually along the horizon line, we usually go to more of a blue-green. Some landscape painters and stuff that I really like, they go almost to a warmer yellowy tone that they have. But when we all of us, when we go up, we go more towards the blue-violets instead of the blue-green. So that's one reason why I'm adding the violet to this. Phthalo Blue is a blue-green. So we add a bit of the violet, and I'm just going to model that up right there for right now. So a bit of the interest in there. Now, I'm going to take this color very thin. So one of the things, Rungus understood a lot. I mean, he was the master, okay? And there's a couple ways in which you can create depth and stuff within a painting. And one is to show you, like I did with the Westerns. On the one last Western, I had the Wranglers. They have the two horsemen looking out over the herd of wild Mustangs. I have that one on the channel. And on the last video there on that one, I show you how to push back and add more atmosphere to your painting after it is dry. And it's just a great technique. The sky is so important to all of that. So one of the things I'll do just right here, right now, to help push back these mountains is I'll push in some of this, and you can just, all this background area here, you can just give light, light washes of it. And most of this won't show up, but the most important thing that it does, guys, is it gives me the visual experience about where I'm going to go. Does that make sense? Part of the hardest problem is we have as an artist is we have to look at this thing and visualize what it's going to look like, and then we paint this technique to match our vision. So I want this, so you can see immediately he starts popping off just by doing this. So now what I've got to do is just start to make this look like mountains and bring the browns and warm tones in here. I want cooler tones, warmer tones, and he'll start to advance, coming forward here. So, that's the blue that I use. Sometimes I put a little mark of it off to the side, but this is a smaller painting. I'm not going to worry about preserving any color or mixing it up. I'm a professional. I can mix it again, okay? So that's where I'm going to start. Now, let's come in and I'm going to do the vast majority of this painting. I'll probably stick with my big brush here for a minute. Let's put in some of that blue-violet. So I'm going to go back to my violet here, and it doesn't have to be the same, just something that's right around there, right? And I'm going to mix up a mountain color here. So we'll add a little bit of white. Let's keep that white clean as possible. You realize how much paint I'm going to go through when I go to paint that big one. I'm really excited for how this is going to go. I can't wait. And I have a bunch of wildlife painters out here now in Nebraska that paint with me. We paint together a couple times a month, and can't wait to show them, take them along on this little journey. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm going to take the medium beige and a little bit of burnt sienna. I'm going to model some of this together and then add this, the sky color to this. And I'm going to look, and I'll look back up over at my photo over there. It's going to have a little bit more of a violet-y tone to it. So a little more burnt sienna and a little bit more of our the blue, the violets and blue and burnt sienna. And boy, that's going to be, let's just check to see how that's going to go. And I had printed out a photo here that I can use it to help color match. And I can see I'm a little dark, but let's see where we are. So I could be a little bit more of a violet. And so we'll add some of that. We don't need to be perfect, but, more important than anything is get that value. I want to get this value lighter here because I know acrylics dry darker, right? And once I learn this color, I'm going to be pretty good. I could still be a touch more violet, but I don't know if I want to do that much more yet. So I'll add a little blue, make this a touch more atmospheric here. And so on that version, then I'm going to thin this with some water, just some water, my big brush, and let's drop some of this in here real quick, just quick statements of it, because all this is going to change, right? So just make some quick statements of it here, but you can see how some of those colors and stuff in here really, the blues really start to set this further back, right? That's what I'm constantly thinking of when I'm painting and basing in or blocking in. We call this blocking in. I'm constantly thinking of the relationship of these colors to the overall depth of my painting. So now, many times you see me in landscapes and stuff, I will talk about the light direction where it is, light and dark, and I'll base in, I'll block in with that. I'm not going to worry about that quite yet on this one. I'm going to just put in some colors. And one of the main reasons is that in Rungus did not really concentrate too much. He did, he put it in there, whereas myself as an artist, I put in a lot more light dark contrast into my mountains. He put in less and letting that subject be the main interest. And in actuality, and in all honesty, he is a little bit more correct, but I'm a mountain painter. I love to paint mountains, and I love the details and stuff like that come from, as an artist, being able to paint these beautiful mountains. He was more of a subject painter. He was a pure wildlife painter, and even though he did mountains and westerns and all that kind of good stuff that we all do, he really was a wildlife painter more than anything else. And so he really kept the subjects as primary and the mountains and everything as secondary into his paintings. And it was a beautiful thing. So he tended to compress some of the issues that we address, in the painting. He tended to compress some of them, and which was a good way, which is a good thing. But I tend to just plow in there and go for it and put in, because I love painting mountains. I was raised, in and around all of the mountains in Oregon and stuff, and I love them, and hanging around all the Cascades and the Sisters and up close. I just love them, and so I tend to paint more details and stuff into mountains. But that's my take on it. So I'm just going to block this in and just get some color on. We want to be able to judge these things for color, right? Now, so that's my bigger brush. So that blocked in a lot of that stuff. I'm going to go to my 3/4 inch brush, and let's just add some of it. So in this painting, I add some light and dark to it and stuff. So in this painting, the light is coming this way, right? And so his shadows and stuff are really going to fall this way. But you can tell right here on the ram that the shadows are going to be here. So we'll block him in and do that. So the light is coming in this way, which means basically off this point area of this mountain that's here, this side of it is going to be shadow. This side of it will be light. So we will pick out, go through the same type of color mixes here, this time adding a little bit more of our blue and violet to this. He went more almost to the purples with his shadows here. So we'll go a little bit more purpley blue. So you look at that. That's the color that I'm going to be going on there. Similar like that. This is, again, we're not going to get too wild and crazy with this right now. Look how brown that almost looks, but it's very, very close to that one. So that is actually kind of a good color. So I'm going to add a little extender just so that it stays wet and it slides. I like how extender slides on this, on the painting. So I'm just going to, I'm not going to, go into great detail at all. I'm going to just give myself some good marks here that I can set up the idea of structure in the mountain. There will be a little edge of it there. There'll be some more structures that he has, like right up over here. We'll answer and paint all of that. And this is just get some of these colors on here, and we'll answer some structures later on. But so we'll get that, and I just know is right in here. When you look at that, when you look at that ramrod right here, this is actually offside. In other words, this stroke right here of this color is really to the wrong side of the mountain. And you go, oh wow, that's on the wrong, it's a shadow side there. And he's got this little bit of it's on the light side, he's got a little bit of shadow. But he's doing that to do this, to pull that ram forward. That's exactly why that is there. It's a little off, it's an artist license, it's a little off, but it is there specifically to pull that ram forward. And you can do that. It just means on the other side, and you'll see it on the other side over here. You just need that in conjunction with that should be a darker shadow to the other side. And you'll see that. So you look at those little points there, you'll have a few little darker shadows right there and onto that side. So you just make sure that this side of your mountain, which is so everything leaning to the left side is darker than everything leaning to the right side. So he pops this in, and I've noticed that several times on his paintings. He'll disrupt some of it here, and because with Rungus, the subject is the most important. Does that make sense? And I noticed that about a ton of his paintings, that he'll play nature and stuff in just such magnificent ways, because the subject is the number one thing that's for him, right? The subject is. So we'll play a little bit of these colors into here. We'll make all this mountain structure and beautiful stuff later on. Just now I'll add this, thin this out, add some of this other color, and we'll lightly push in some angles and some movements here just for right now. We'll come back and paint this. Don't try to make, when you're blocking like this and we're taking our first look at the colors and the structures and stuff, we don't want to get wrapped up in a whole bunch of detail that may not be important later on at all. Does that make sense? So we want to just keep moving. Just keep moving with what we're doing. Keep moving. This would be a angled side. And see, once I start getting some of that down, and I've got this color now in my mind, what it is that I'm looking for, I'll switch over and start just doing this. Just start brush mixing. I know that my eye is now used to seeing that color, and I'll just start brush mixing it now as I start to analyze some of this stuff here. Get these mountains back up to where they should be. Here, we'll address and fix all of that stuff. Bit of this dark right in here, that's going to help this ram really come forward here. Some of that right there. And we'll add some other violets. Ooh, it touched a little bit of green there. That's one thing he doesn't have. He has a couple of small little touches of it, but not a lot of green in here. Not a lot of green. So we'll touch into some of this, get some of that mountain color and stuff going there. And we'll break up some other areas here. Maybe some other darks here, break up another cliff-like area here. We'll address some of that later, but let's get now. So I have some really dark up over here, so let me get some of that in, and we'll violet this, burnt sienna, a little bit more blue and violet here, and yeah, that's a good color. Anywhere in there, you know, all this I'm going to paint over and stuff later on anyway, but let's get some of this dark tone in on this side. That's really going to help his rump and stuff come forward and establish that. And I'm a big advocate, I use that over there. I'm going to redress some of that, just a touch or so of it there, so I just don't have it, you know, in just one area. And, you know, for me, this is the farthest part away from us. I would be lightening and bringing this softer and stuff as I come forward here, which is something that I will do. But we don't need to worry about all of that yet. I'm just going to put some soft little color interest right back down in here. I'm going to, and this is all I'm doing, is just breaking up color. This could be anything, the shapes and stuff. That could be anything later on, right? Okay, now let's take our white here. Now we're not going to paint pure white. So on this side is going to be the shadow. So for the white, I dirtied the white, add a little blue to it, dirty that up, and that's going to come down on this side here for the snow on this side, right in here. And he is real quick with his brush strokes and stuff, kind of soft, because this white could overtake the painting really quickly, because it's a big span of white, right? So we have to be we don't want to give like a whole bunch of textures and stuff, and he doesn't. He just makes real quick statements that this is snow here, right? And then maybe a little bit of it tapped, you can see, and he'll just drag the edge, and you fracture the edge of the paint so it doesn't create as much interest. Let's go just a touch lighter up there. A little bit of blue, a little touch lighter here, and we'll tackle some more of this later, guys. Just, you know, like I said, we're got a long ways to go. We're just blocking in some ideas. Now this side, I will go just a touch lighter, right? This is the shadow side. Pulling this way is the light side. So we'll push a bit more interest of the light here, right into there. And he has a larger little touch of it right in here. And so I've got that just a bit too big right there. So I'll just take some of it out with a bit of my lighter color there. We'll take some of that out. And that, again, it's just a look. We're just doing this to give ourselves a look, right? The look of it here. I'm just going to soften those edges out. I want that soft. Right down into this valley right here. And then on the other side over here, let's make this a little whiter, and then a tiny bit of yellow. Now, some of the other landscape painters, and I'm sure he probably did too, you know, when you're the famous landscape painters we have now, you know, they would add the orange. They would go, it's not yellow, it's actually an orange. Go to, like Clyde Aspavig and stuff. We did that big study from Clyde Aspavig, and I went through and analyzed all of it, and I was like, wow, he painted that with orange into his white, into his light snow. And so I was like, whoa, that's quite a bit. Now, this side could have a little bit of texture in it as well, but I'm not going to go there yet. I'm just going to keep it kind of simple like what he does. He's obviously used a bigger brush than what I'm using because his marks are more simplistic, but I'll get to, I'm just going to leave it. Now he's more solid too, as you know, when you look at his would be more solid, and I'm going to leave a bit more brush marks because I love the brush marks, the calligraphy of it, because to me it gives more form and shape to the mountain. Let's bridge this over to here just a bit so we see those two coming together there just a touch. So we have, now see, if I'm a mountain painter, I do this. And this is where I will differ from him. And even though it's a study of his, I will paint my mountains a little bit too. We all have to do that. Is I'll put a little bit of that blue in there and shadow that side just a little bit more. So I get a look of a light and shadow. And his light is much, much lighter still. So I could go even more right in here like that. And when I start this off and blur some of that, I just run my finger and blur that because I don't want to have too much distraction from the sheep. Does that make sense? And then down the little valley, he does just really neat little things, little touches of the snow coming down that valley. And I'm just going to just lightly indicate it there, just a few areas there. And again, we're not done, right? We're not done. So it puts that in. Let's go a touch more of that light. Since we have it right there, let's hit this light right in there. Tap it around a bit, just so we know it's up there. And he has more of the soft mountain up on the top, so we'll just put some of that in there. Just an idea of it. I just love it. Just this real quick, simplistic look to it is really kind of nice. I'm just going to soften a bit of this here. We'll deal with the actual structures after we get on some of the ram, right? That's what I like to do. And I like the extender every once in a while just because it makes the color slide. And when I'm doing quick things like that, I like that color to slide a bit. All right. So let's come in here, and I'm just going to clean up along the edge of him, sometimes on a shadow, receding side of a shadow. Remember this. I'll take the background into the subject a bit so that it will cause a receding edge. So we'll have a found edge. You can see immediately how this softens down, and this area in here jumps out at us, right? Oh, one thing we can't forget here, a little bit of mountain color here, is we have to paint the inside here mountain color. Inside of his horns there, some of that mountain color, right? Maybe a bit of interest in there. We'll deal with all of that as we get going, but can't forget to do that. All right, so we'll clean up just a bit. That's the point of his horn there, so that'll do. Now let's go down. Now you can see here at the bottom, okay, down at the very bottom, down into this area here, he does more of those whites and violets. So let's just get that. Let's get some violets, blue violets here, more of the violet, bit of that burnt sienna. I just love that color into the painting. And blues, blue violets here, and some extender. And I don't know why I'm having such a problem with that one today. Here we go. And let's and the extender, especially with your first go, really helps your color slide and fill in some of those. We want to fill in, they're called the holidays. So when the rougher the canvas you use, the more holidays. Holidays is this, when I skip over and I get these little white marks. We want to make sure we get rid of those white marks. Those we call holidays. I always remember it's where your paint took the holiday, didn't fill it in. So we'll get rid of some of those. Let's come back out here. Now some more whites. Up along, we'll put this big rock right up in front of it. We'll just model some of that together right down there. And we'll build some more lights right in here. Here, right up along. Again, this is blocking in. We're going to change a lot of this, guys. It's going to be a lot of fun. And then when we go to do the big one, we'll be able to do even more. Now, I'm going to add some yellow, warm some of this just a bit, because it should, as it's coming out of some of that area, it should warm up. And you can see, boy, look up here how much that dried down. We're going to be hitting it a few times to get that. He has that real crystal clear white that's on it. Now, you know, I looked at the original up there in Jackson. It wasn't as light as what a camera takes, a photo of it, but it is pretty light. It's lighter than what I have it. So we'll just drop some of that in there. Drop some of that. Grab some of this color, move that up here to model it up. A little water, a little extender, just stuff to help your colors move here. We're just blocking in. This just helps it fill in. And there's a lot of artists that like to block in or paint over a pre-glazed canvas. When I'm painting something like this, sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. He did a lot of work in the field, and I've seen a lot of his field studies, and you can see the white canvas through some of the areas. So he didn't always. He did sometimes, I see it, and sometimes he didn't. So we'll get some of this, but it's got to go a lot whiter. Whiter. That's got to go whiter in there. We'll get some of that in there. And it'll take a few times. The color's so wet. Anytime, have you found that out about acrylics and oils and stuff in general too? Once you get that wet and then you start to lighten it up, you keep pounding on white and it just doesn't go anywhere. Whites just turn in value darker really easy. And so it is much better, you know, to let it dry. That's why I love acrylics. Let it dry. I'm putting out some more white. Let it dry a little bit, right? And then come back and add another mark or two of it. It's much better because then it doesn't mix quite as easy. And we'll just drop this in here. We'll do that whole art thing back here and fix all of that. But it'll be a lot of fun. Let's just drop a little bit more of that white. Just pull that down. We know we're going to do it here, so we'll just pull that down. And we know it's going to go up there lighter yet. Just tap those edges a bit. That gives all that nice, lovely interest. Okay, so that's got them. Now we've got some of that background, some of those edges and stuff there. And I look at that. I'm a little bit low onto this side here. I probably am going to take some of that up. It's a bit picky right now, but sometimes it's okay. Be a little bit picky. Let's take some of that up here. Right there. We'll do that with the structure of the mountain. I like that. That one's kind of nice. That his jogs up a little bit higher. I guess if I'm doing his study, I should do some of that stuff. So I'm just going to warm just a bit. He has a touch of that in there. But I'm going to be doing this a lot. I'm not anywhere near, and I want all of you to get into that. You're just blocking in. Don't get wrapped up into a whole bunch of detail that we're just going to paint over. Just get the colors close, right? Get the colors close, and then we'll go from there later on, right? Okay, so we'll put some of that in. Touch more blue. It's amazing just how much blue is in there, in those sides right there. But you can see right now, just by me playing with this over here, let's add this shadow in here. Just by me playing this a little bit, just how much more, we're going to be giving this snow and stuff over here. I'm going to, especially, to give the interest that I want this to have, right? So I'll be playing like this with this mountain, because I'm a mountain painter. I like painting mountains, right? So I'll do a lot more there. But it's kind of cool, kind of nice, fun. Let's just put a bit of that up in there. Okay. All right. So let's come in now, and I'm just going to correct a couple little things color-wise onto this background. Make sure I've got a good working. Sometimes it's better to take your colors into your subject a little bit so that rather than leaving a holiday out there. Okay, so that's much better. Now we have to do the ground and stuff, but I think what I'm going to do before I do the ground and everything is I'm going to come up here and start working on some of the small areas and stuff of his head and popping his head off. So I'm going to start with one of the lightest, warmest areas, which is going to be right up here on his muzzle here. Some yellow, some burnt sienna here, and white. I'll start out kind of lower color here, yellow, burnt sienna, and white. Start tapping some of that in, and that's going to go up here a bit. Work some of that color in, just scrubbing it into the canvas here. Drawing and scrubbing a bit. And down below his chin and mouth here. Right in there. And then more white as we come on to this side here. And again, I'm using a small little number 4. Just so I get some details and stuff in there. Now, one of the things, see, that's going to cause him to really advance, I'll just show you here right now. I'll take some of this, maybe a bit of burnt sienna in this. And is when I come in here to clean up some of this and I start to do the found edges here, and I start taking this out of the mountain, you'll see how right in there, see how his face and stuff really start to advance as I clean up the edges. So that's going to be very important for us as we get into the painting here. Now let's go some heavier burnt sienna. Let's bring that right down. As a matter of fact, yeah, let's bring it up over here. Burnt sienna, a little bit of the Phthalo Blue, which will darken it a touch, just a little. Okay, and we'll get that right back up over here, up on the edge, and see how and this is what I talk about. See that granulation that happens there? That's where I'm letting the canvas pick off some of this of the paint, so it's not smooth. And we'll use this later on to add some of the interest and stuff here into the structure of his horns and everything. We'll use some of that. Let's pick up some more burnt sienna and yellow here. Maybe a touch of the medium beige will take away the yellowness of the paint, if that makes sense, which is what I want to do. We'll make a softer kind of beige, yellow, some white, and scrub some of that into his horn there. Touch more light into this back area back here. Right, there we go. There, get rid of some of that. Now, it is actually a touch more yellow, beige, and burnt sienna, white here. Burnt sienna, white. We'll put this, he has big, huge, these riser knobs on top of his head here, which are actually the eye socket area. So, and he does a very soft job of really kind of defining this other. I'm just going to take a little dark so don't lose that line just a bit. But he does a real soft job of it, letting the front eye do the work of the painting. So he stops this one short. Let's put a little bit of dark right in there. And so the back one here does not have a tremendous amount of detail or interest in it. So we'll take just a bit of the light, and this isn't done. I'm doing only enough for me to preserve my drawing and see my object a bit. So I'll make that just a touch lighter so I can see it, his head there. And this one, we'll put some of that color right in there. Pull down, right? And just enough to preserve that, right? Let's get some more of this blue and burnt sienna. This nice dark. Sometimes I'll add a little red, which will help gray that blue faster than burnt sienna does. And let's get some dark marks across here. here. And if I get it too dark, I'll just run right a little burnt sienna right through it. Carry it around a bit. Right? Get to where you're touching and sketching almost with it. That's when it gets really fun. I add a little Diarylide Yellow to it as I come down here, which will help it soften and transparent a bit. Here, little Diarylide Yellow. I like the Diarylide Yellow with the burnt sienna combination because the Diarylide Yellow is a little bit more translucent. And so a little yellow oxide, a little white, a little Diarylide Yellow. All these are beautiful colors in here onto his side plane of his face. And we're going to work these colors a lot, guys. So we'll work these colors a lot. And this is just to give us an idea. He has that tear duct kind of thing coming from his, he gives it there on that side. Here. Let's take some of that dark here. Touch that into his eye. Here. We can also take some of this dark, this is the burnt sienna and blue, and redefine a bit of his slightly angled forward. His nostrils and stuff here. A bit here for the line of his mouth. There. Right? And this is the part that I love stepping back on my brush like this. And really, you know, I used to always be such a detail painter. Now I like to put in this soft detail. It's detail, but it's soft. It is not, you know, oppressive in any ways. To drawing, I'm going to put a lower lid on. Now I encroached too far onto his eye, but I'm not going to worry about that yet. So I'll put that lower lid on. Let's go back with a little blue and burnt sienna here right on the corner of the brush, and we'll bring his eye back up. His eye is really going to be burnt sienna and that blue to the back side there by the time we're all done, but not yet. Let's just take a bit of this and some of the two yellows, burnt sienna, blue, two yellows, model all this together, and we'll pull down. There's a shadow and structure here. We'll just kind of pull down a bit here, right? And we can go a touch lighter and balancing. I'm balancing because we need a certain amount of light right here to make his eyes stay dominant in the painting here, right? So we want to make sure that that's going to stay in there, and that'll do it right there. A little bit more light right in there. And big, well, actually it's small, but light mark of the light right there on the ear. And then back to some of this mottled dark right into the ear. Now see, there's little holidays around here which we're going to want to get rid of eventually. A bit of the light right here into the front. There, like that. Yeah. And I like it because it has so many smaller marks of tone. Later on we're going to be doing that. And that's what's going to give so much shape and form to his face, his structure of his face and his face. So we'll get there. I'll come in and, you know, specifically paint it a couple times. Boy, when I go to that big one, I'll be doing it a lot. Oh, too much. I want to keep it modeled like he does. So that was too much of a smoothing stroke. So I'll just come back and tap around in there a bit. Let's make sure we keep that knob of his face and eye there. And he gets this hump into his head right there. There we go. And I'll put some of that light right up in there. Got to be careful when I touch. I don't want to pull too long because that is giving too much smoothness. So let's just take a bit of white with that and we'll soften that edge. Little halftone, right? That's a halftone, isn't it? There, softening that edge on his face. That works out pretty well, right? Let's take, I'm liking this little number 4 for doing this drawing, and there's some more burnt sienna and blue, right? And we'll use this to create some of those real darks that Rungus does here up underneath the edge of this big horn. We're going to put a lot of beautiful detail into that. That'll be a lot of fun. Yeah, it'll be a lot. This whole painting's just going to be a whole heck of a lot of fun here, especially when I go to the big one. Can you imagine that? You're going to be painting his head this big. It's going to be fun. It's really going to be fun. Yeah, I know a lot of you, you don't have the ability to put it someplace. I mean, you'd love to paint something like that. You always are, but oh yeah, today's the houses and stuff we work in are a lot smaller. So that's why you just got to add on, it's just to do one like this sometime is just magnificent, even if we, don't have a place to do it, just to do one. My mother, who was, quite a nationally known artist and stuff in her own, and she doesn't paint these, she does a lot of folk art, but she always says you never appreciate yourself as an artist until you do something big and expensive, and this is one of those things. I'm going to lighten and warm yellow burnt sienna stuff over here into this side, and pick out a little lighter and warmer, maybe even a little texture there, but for right now, the light edge of the top of this horn, we're going to go quite light later on here, and I'm going to put in a lot of texture, and just pull that right around here for right now. There we go, and we'll add just a bit of this shadow in here. This horn is going to be wonderful to paint. We'll go some more yellow. Let's go back over towards the light side. More yellow and mostly yellow, medium beige, and white. A little bit of burnt sienna in it. We'll establish the light part of the horn over here. Does that make sense? And then we'll just kind of start bringing it together. Let's look at that. And if you look at that, I'm still not light enough. I'm very close, but I'm not light enough. And so let's just run some more light through it. And I like, when he paints these, like the bighorn sheep, all these, it's a lot more modeled brushwork, nothing smooth. So just get in there and pound your brush around. Don't create smoothness. Try not to take big smoothing strokes. We're just pounding this around. Let's take a little more yellow, a little more burnt sienna as we come up here, rounding into the shadow of the big part of the horn. And then we'll darken down even more as we come into the big top shadow of the horn here. And this is just the base, right? This we'll do quite a bit with. Trust me, it'll be a lot of fun. We'll model and pull some of these little marks out and do that art thing all over this. It's going to be great. Let's put a bit of light here so we don't lose that. Rounding of that light right there, right? And we take small steps towards the finished product, right? That's what we do. But let's turn a bit more burnt sienna. Turn this shadow, pulling down and across the width of the horn. we've got to start creating some of those ridges that he's going to have. Ridges into the horn there, like that. And big dose, burnt sienna blue, big dose of shadow here. Right in here like that. That reverses course the other way. Here, more burnt sienna. Burnt sienna is around a 3 to a 4, so you know how it looks in your painting, all depending upon how the light is on it. But so, you know, it's pretty dark by itself. Just a little bit of blue is all you need in it, just to increase the coolness of it. There, like that. That's pretty good. You'll drop that in. Round that up a bit. More burnt sienna, just a touch of blue in that burnt sienna. All it really needs. Round that up a bit. There we go. Yeah, that's pretty good for the horn there, for the first look at the horn. I get to see the horn. That's the big part of it right there. A bit of this more shadow color right in here pulled across the horn. And more of the light right here. See, after you get your first go through, you can start seeing more differences and stuff that you might want to do, you know. And so let's lighten that, yellow that just a touch, lighten that a little bit more right in there. Right in that, pull across the horn, right in there. There we go. And then travel that color. Make sure you travel that color. Let's lighten right up in here. Pull across the horn somewhat. There we go. That's a good basing in of that. Now let's that's got a lot of the little detail on him there. I'm gonna increase the size with the burnt sienna in his eye, just a touch there. And then I'm going to put a darker little blue on that back corner. And, you know, he has a nice little catch light in there if you want to go ahead and put that on. It's probably too much detail, but sometimes, you know, you just like these little guys to look at you a bit. So you can put that catch light on that if you want. I have a touch of the darker right here for this side of the horn. And a bit of the softer yellow here for the tip here. Which is light nose could be a little bit lighter right up against that edge right there. There, we'll just soften that out. We'll do some more detailing and stuff in there, but you can tell actually in Rungus, you know, he got to create that little drop in his nose, and he did it with shadow. He actually painted that light in and then drew in the shape of it with the shadow. So he got that little break in the nose there. Could go up a tiny bit higher, but usually with those it's right in line with that nostril, that break. But usually with that kind of stuff I wait until I get into detail. Right now my eye is just beginning to see some detail, but I don't want to get wrapped up in a whole bunch of detail yet because my painting isn't there yet for that, right? Okay, so that sets him in there. Now I'm going to rinse that brush out so I don't lose it. And I'm going to go up and I'm going to paint his body mostly now into the 10, a size 10. Let's go some light, some beige, yellows, whites, some of these colors in here. And let's just establish some light tone right in here, right in there, right? And then some of our darker. And the darker is, you know, mostly the burnt sienna, a little bit of blue, stuff like that. burnt sienna, a little bit more blue. Sometimes if I wanted a softer shadow, I'll go burnt sienna and some of the sapphire. That's why I have sapphire here, is it makes a softer shadow gray. See how it's softer? It's not as, and it's a softer shadow gray. And so those are perfect ones for halftone shadows, not full direct shadows, just receding line shadows, receding area shadows and stuff. So, and all of this has to be painted many times. If we have a deeper shadow, maybe even a little more red into that shadow. But right down here, let's drop in his neck here, right there, right? And you can see that shadow is, let's soften that cast right there a bit. That's a pretty darn good shadow. Soften that a bit. A little more burnt sienna. I'm just going to let that fracture a bit here up on that edge. I don't want that edge to be perfect, so just fracture that off a bit because I want that to be a receding edge still, right? Here. There's that light. We're coming into this shadow. Scrub it in a bit, right? Scrub it in a bit. Let's just model that up. Touch here, just kind of scrub his shape a bit here like this. That keeps the, you know, we don't want to build texture on a receding side. This is very important. On a receding side, a shadow side, you don't want texture. And the good rule of alla prima, especially landscapes, still follow here. Shadows are more transparent. So, you know, seeing some edges of the canvas and stuff come through on the shadow side, there's a lot of artists, and Rungus is one of them, that let those shadows stay, you know, on that stay transparent, right? So here we'll drop this in. Here, this shadow in here. We'll drop that right down. We'll drop in some of this. You know that's going to go down that side there, right? And he has some of this coming right up here. And we'll put some light on that as well. This is, and you can darken it. See, I'm just going to scrub down like this, which is going to give me some of that color of the movement. Transparency will give me some of my original wash color that I put on there when I was sketching, allowing some of it to come through. I'm just using an extender into this, the burnt siennas and the blues. We'll sketch in here, right down into these hooves here. And then I'll let some of that burnt sienna, a little bit of light, come back on that back side. Just softly for right now. Some of that over here. It's the block end, right? Just close. Close. Get some of the light and shadow on so we'll be able to see him. I'm going to darken, a little too blue, but darken right in here so I don't lose my drawing structure of him. And also this main chest muscle right here. Drop in just a touch more shadow into that, right? And we have a cast shadow here of the horn. And so I have just a touch more blue in it. Let that fade out over there. This is a cast shadow of the horn. And we'll change it, you know, we'll add some interest and stuff like that, break it up, brush mark it a little bit so we get some of that structure in there, correct? Brush marks and stuff, there we go. That's good. Let's go to the back, a little more burnt sienna, right in here to yellows. Both are yellows. I love that Diarylide Yellow. Let's add some extender, thin this just a bit, scrub this on. Scrub this on. We're going to get a scrubbing action through a lot of painting him here. So don't use a new number 10. That will just use an older one. You might even consider going to a bristle. Now softer burnt siennas, some blue and medium beige, softer grays here, gray colors. We'll add some of those. Scrub that on here, right? That's beautiful color. Lighten that up, a little bit of light and medium beige. Sometimes a touch of the burnt sienna, which takes it over to almost that orangey kind of cast somewhat to him. So we'll work on that, some of that. But I will do a lot of this as we get to building him. But see, those are the building colors we want to use on him. And we really get, sometimes I'll jump ahead. I'll just jump ahead here. Jump ahead and, put in the line of where we're going to have a lot of light on him. So I can see that light in relationship to the rest of the painting. Now he has, they have that light yellow rump here. So let's just take some light right back here and push that on right in there. And that's good. Then we'll scrub in some of these others, beiges and all these colors in. This is just your block, right? All this will change. But we just want to lay in some of the tones that we're going to see. Like there's going to be a little dark, could have a little more burnt sienna in that here. But I want to kind of scrub the edges here so it's not perfect on him. Here. I might even go back up to my 3/4 here for a minute and really scrub in some of these. Yeah, real darks. So you can see I'm using not a tremendous amount of paint because I want to scrub it a bit. I want to work it casually into this weave. So if I have the weave, I do like to work the weave, into part of my painting. Rungus does it. So he's the first one to do it. So yeah, and let's just work that shadow color a little darker. Right there, that shadow tone. Right across here, that big muscle. Right in there. That's good. And that line's going to come up like that. So we'll leave just be a little heavier right there like that. And we'll take these burnt siennas and some of these lights here. There. Some of it goes down here. So as you see, I call ballpark. I'm putting on what I call benchmarks or ideas of the tones. They're not perfect, and they will be at some point, but not yet. I don't worry about them being perfect, but I'm just worried about getting them a little close. Like we could lighten up a bit right here to build this front shoulder area here, and then just model that out. Don't let it take over too much. Maybe a little bit across here, right? A little bit in there. We're going to work a lot of tones in there. I'm really going to work him up quite a bit because I am going to enjoy painting him. A little bit more yellow, burnt sienna. Here, let's get close. I love the sound of the canvas. I got that drum tight. I just tightened it. And the when you go and use that canvas prep, it will tighten it up as well. So, but just drum tight. Here, some of this shadows here. And he's going to have this knee, and that other knee comes right back behind his. The knee on the other side. That brush, that 3/4 inch, has a bad here. That's why I got this other older one. I'm going to use that. It's better for drawing an edge. Yeah, softer. sometimes, you get these brushes, like that one with the bad flyaway hair is great for doing his body, but not for putting on the detail line. I'm not going to fight it, so I just grabbed the other one, and worked a heck of a lot better. But we'll come in here, just like we did, with horses and everything else, you guys. I'm going to come in here and start adding some of the details and drawing and stuff like that. We'll have some fun with it, and we'll work on him, and then I'm pretty much going to be working quite a bit on him. I've got an idea back here for the back mountains. I'm going to work on him for the next video, putting in a lot of the detail on him, and then we'll go back and work on the mountains. Then we'll come back and revisit him again. That's kind of what I'm thinking. Maybe 3 videos here. Depends on how much we need to show you to get there. But maybe 3 videos, just fun little videos of showing how we're going to paint him forward here, and get some of this marks in here. You can see this brush, didn't have all that dried paint in it and wild hairs like the other one does. So it's a little smoother in the technique, so I have to be a little more careful. I don't want to be smooth in the technique. I want it to be chunky. So, because that's the way, and Runga's painted with bristles, so we do want to emulate some of that stuff. So we want to keep those bristles going here. So he's going to have a bigger chest muscle right here. Shoulder muscle actually comes up here. So we can just model in a little bit of this, but it's really kind of too soon for this yet. But we can put some of it in here of where we're going to go. And some lighter color in here. And it's going to go right back here. We're going to pick up his knee as it goes forward again here. And this one is going to have the light on it. So I know right there. It's good. Maybe a little touch of, I don't know, some of you were commenting on the last video I did, and I had to stop on that spring painting one with because of the dog needed to go outside. But I don't know if you can pick up. Her sister is over there. The one that needed to go outside. Now her sister's over there just snoring away. Some of you have made comments on there. You hear them snoring in the background. Well, yeah, it's not me, and hopefully it's none of you guys. But yeah, she's just snoring away. I had them out early this morning. They like to go out running in the fields and chasing the bunnies. They never have a chance. They'll never catch a bunny. Besides, I don't let them catch a bunny, but they do love to think they can. I'm going to put a little more white here just to bring some of that out. Say we did it. I'm avoiding texture, but it's kind of nice to tap it around a little bit. Okay, so we'll put that on there. So now you can see a bit of his underpainting of where he is going to go. We'll underpaint this one over here, but softer. And to make him more atmospheric, we'll add some blues and stuff like that to it. But we'll come in here, and this is where I'm going to use a lot of these blue darker colors here. Blues, some violets into this as well here. And we're going to put in some real darks here. Some water, so it doesn't need to be thick. Remember, shadowy colors and stuff are thinner, so this needs to be darker than the color that's on him. So it's good to get it in now. Here, there. And so we can see, do I need to run just a touch lighter right there on him? Right, let's just run a little bit of lighter right there. We'll put some more shadow in as we get these others in. But real dark. And sometimes some of the paintings, he'll let those, like the structure of the animal fade right into the forward structure that we're painting. He'll just let those two lines, those two colors, come in together, and which is A, really brave, and B, really neat, that he has that confidence to let that go in there. And that's what would happen, and the viewers aren't bothered by it. You're used to seeing that every day out there, where the shape of an object fades into the shadows of the cast shadow of what it is you're painting. And I sometimes I need to be a little bit more brave with that. I'll get there. Yeah. So I'm just scrubbing this in. I really want to make sure into this forward shadow here that I get rid of all the holidays. There's no holidays. There's a couple right in here that I can blur out. But those holidays are going to be so important right along this deep shadow in there that they're gone, that they just need to be gone. The blue, violets, burnt siennas, some of these in here, right? Right, these darks, right in there. Yep. And he had some of this dark come right up in here. Again, this is just our first look. Don't get too wrapped up in detail. It's some fun because I'm painting with a lot of beginners out here and stuff that, been painting just a few months. And, we all do. Even me painting 40 years, I still get wrapped up sometimes too much in detail when I shouldn't. And I tell you guys, we shouldn't, and I turn around and do it anyway. We all do it, but yeah, so let's just grab some more burnt sienna, use up some of this color, some yellows here. Let's just drop some of this back here. We'll work all these colors several times, but it's going to be these dark colors here that really advance through our paintings here. We want some yellows, some burnt siennas, some of these colors here. Get these mountain colors in. Lighter here, this is going to be the light struck area right in here. Might have to redraw that hoof again. And really grab some medium beige, some white, some of these colors, and let's just lay on some. And the paint up here can be really thick. You can just lay it on here. Tap it around, lay it on, move it around. These are all going to be rocks and stuff like that. And we're really going to paint thick. As a matter of fact, several times, you'll see me, there's even a little bit of that mountain color on there. That would be great. You'll see me just come in with the knife, and I will, towards the end of this, paint through with the knife because I just love what the knife does. So you'll see me paint through with the knife. I like it. That's going to be good. There'll be some more burnt sienna and blue and these darkers right out here. Water or little extender, something to help it move. Fill in these shadows up here. Make sure you get rid of those holidays. No holidays. That will destroy the depth of the painting, right? There. Those are a little bit too smooth all along there. We'll fix that. I'll do that painting all over here. Too much blue. We'll get all of these things there. That'll be good. Yeah, just some of those edges, rock edges there. Got to get some of that dark onto those hooves there. Right. All of this, some yellows. Nice warm colors. We want the warm colors up here that contrast. The cooler colors we'll do in the other part of the painting back through there. So all of this will be good. He's going to be standing up here on this rocky kind of ledge here. I'll push this in. We'll push in a little more dark right here. Medium color. So blocked in, right? Yeah, you don't really need, there's some of you don't need to see all this, but it's just kind of fun to watch it. This is what I do. I don't worry about a ton of it. I'll get all of this shape in, you know, pretty soon here. And yeah, you've seen me do this. I really like my big paint scraper. It was here. Don't know. Oh, here, so it's right here. I really like my big paint scraper, you know, because this really does big areas like really quick. It just gets the color on. And that's all I want. I just want some color on here. I don't want anything perfect. I just want to take away the white canvas and get close. Clean up my canvas here a bit. And get close. I don't need to be perfect. If that makes sense. Right? Just get close. And I just like to plow on the color. There. Here we go. And all of this will change. You know, we'll make some rocky little faces in here. I mean, those are easy. We just take a little blue and violet and nice little dark color, and we'll come in and make some little rock faces and stuff here that they're going to be walking up and doing all that kind of good stuff. So that'll come, but that doesn't come yet. Doesn't come yet. So I have a bit more of a softer one back here. So let's add a little blue and what is our sky, right? Golly, that wants to bend up there. Our sky. You can even read, because it's only been an hour or so here, what, an hour and a half or so. We can just thin this out a bit. It picks, see how the sky just picks it right back up. Graze this off. Let's add it a little bit to the violet side. And we'll use this to create a softer, maybe a bit of this little edge to this backside back here. A little brown, a little white, beige, softer, more sky color. Sky color causes it to recede, right? So we'll just recede that down right there. So it's going to be another little rocky edge, something back here. This guy's coming up going, where are you going? Right? I want to go to, right in there. That's that. You know, and again, good things I like to do, guys, is, you know, I like to take some of that color, everything that we do, and add it. Everything I just added, I like to add in to some of the other colors up here into the front. It's just a habit that I like. It carries color. It works. It helps us, you know, move color through. It's just a good thing. So let's take a little blue and the violet here and some of that and add some of that in there. And when I go to paint that next time, I'll let some of that color, you know, stand in there like that. But that works pretty well. Let's go back to, let's try this little, a 6 or an 8 or something like that. Let's just come in and we'll just add some softer tones. So we'll keep it more towards the burnt sienna. Let's add some just sky color, just blue, right to him right here. And we'll start him in kind of a real soft gray. And I'll add some extender, maybe some water, something to thin it out here so that, you know, I let some of the canvas come through. And I'll scrub in a bit here. It's going to keep him more atmospheric. This is the main atmospheric color, so you add that to it. See, he's not going to have the big powerful thing, so big powerful colors. And when I come up here later on and I put in these really warm strikes of color right in here, like on this guy right here, see? That warm strike of color, and I take that color and I atmosphere it back here, add some of these grays. You'll still pick up the same color, but the atmosphere will push him further back. You'll see the tone, but it brings this one, brings it forward, that one recedes it. Do you see? That's the main thing that I want to get to you guys, is that that's what you do. So in your mind, when you're doing mixes and all of that kind of stuff, you're pushing things back with atmosphere. And you have to pay attention to the value of it as well, the lightness and darkness of it. But it's the atmosphere, it's the blues, the color, whatever, if it's a foggy day, you add that foggy color right to your object. And that's what pushes it back, right? So I'm going to push that back. I'll now take some of my burnt sienna, which is my shadow, a little bit of my blues and my atmosphere, but right into my burnt sienna here. A little bit more blue, maybe a touch of the violet. And I'll start some of this shadowing on him. That won't be as dark as what goes on this other guy, because he has more atmosphere in him. But I'll start some of this shadow around. That will put him right into place. See, but the shadow won't be anywhere near as dark as what I do here. So this shadow doesn't go as dark as that one. And the guy will go back, right? And as I add more to the front guy, I can add more to the back guy. That's how it works. So we'll put some shadow on his hip here. There. And maybe a touch of the light, yellows, lights, a little bit of the burnt sienna. We can add a bit of the light here to him. But again, we can't paint him completely yet because we have to finish the front one. Maybe an indication of his light rump. That's going to be there. The light on his face, that's going to be there. Right? And the softer browns and stuff here. That'll go right into his face. And just tap that around a bit. We're going to, basically, you're thinking all along here, you're thinking he's further back, he's softer, he's more grayed kind of color. Not as bright, not bright colors, grayed colors, atmosphered colors. And that's what's going to cause him to go back, right? Yeah, a little bit of shadow maybe. Right in here. Right in here. Yeah, so if some of you are picking up that snoring, it's not me, okay? It's not me. Yeah. Here we go. A little bit onto that. There's a lot to do here, but I'm not going to worry about that yet. Just getting some of that softness onto him right now. Some of the colors in nowhere near what they need to be. Eliminating a few of the holidays. A little violet here. I think I'm trying to do it without adding any more burnt sienna, but that's not going to work. So a little bit more burnt sienna here. And just a softer. Let's push in a... So I'm balancing, I'm watching how much I can put on the shadow here. I'm watching against the other guy, if that makes sense. Here. So just that's as long as he's pushing back, which is he still is. So we're in good shape. There we go. That's just enough for him right now, I think. There's a couple of little areas of holidays I'll have to get rid of here. So the next, so that's pretty good all over. He's blocked in, and I think that's pretty good for the next one. The next video we'll come in and we'll work on his body. I really want to get in and see just what kind of textures I can work with and manipulate that. I might even be adding the acrylic thickening medium to this to thicken up some of the front body strokes and everything like that. So we'll work on him. We'll set the mountains and everything. I think a couple more videos just to kind of set that technique with you guys and everything. But yeah, I think he's going to look pretty good. He's a little dark right now, but we know that. And the other thing is sometimes with the Rungus technique, you've seen me start them out really light and keeping them really light. This time, why did I do it different this time? This time I want to keep that. It's going to be harder to build the lights, which is one reason why I'm going to let it dry. When you have a hard time building lights, let it dry. Just remember that. Let it dry, because that white just keeps absorbing in, okay? Let it dry, and then sometimes you can even give it a coat of glazing medium or even sealer over it, seal it off and put the white on, and the white's right up on top, okay? But I want that underglow that's here, and he's got a really good underglow. So, you know, I think that we're going to be answering that. So there's some areas that I got to clean up and work up and, you know, build better, you know, definition and stuff. But mass toned in, I think we're in pretty good shape, okay? So it was a lot of fun with you. And so I'll get that one. I'll get the next one up in the next day or two. I'll work with this, and we'll come in here and then, you know, work on him, really advance him. Might have to soften a bit of this back here in the mountains so that we can advance him evenly and stuff. Then we'll come in, work the other one, and I'll work rocks and do all that kind of art thing, okay? Thanks very much, guys. I hope you enjoy it. And, you know, if you want to watch the big painting, I'm going to paint it this summer. In the next couple months, I'm going to paint it. And if you want us to film it here at the studio, make sure you drop us a comment on there, you know, because we try to film what you guys want to see. And if we only get a couple comments on it, we won't film it. We won't take the time to film it, because it's a lot of work to film it and to edit it and to present these videos to you guys. It takes a lot of our time. And so we only want to give you what you see, not what I always like to paint, what you guys would like to see, okay? So let us know. We read every single comment. And this whole last week, I was out there answering all of your comments on the channel. So, but we only want to do it, you know, if you guys want to do it. So leave the comments on it and help us out. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to like the video. Please like the video if you want to see more of this stuff, okay? Thanks, guys. And I'll see you on the very next one. We're going to have a lot of fun. See you next one.